Hey folks, Quilly here, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program Experimental Patch 1.1. It's still a pre-release patch. All the usual disclaimers apply here, and welcome to Bob's Science Buggy 9001. This bad boy just did a big grand tour of the science buildings over there, as well as... we hit the grasslands over there and collected a whole bunch of science. This thing can go fast, well faster than you absolutely should in anything vaguely resembling a ground vehicle, because one hint of a bump and you will die. So we're just going to go ahead and hit the brakes over here. I think there's still some stuff I can get from the shore over there, but I got enough science for now. We got enough science for our next step. And what is our next step? We are going to Minmus, my friends. We're going to do a landing somewhere here. Still want to do like that moon or Duna flyby, but we've got a quest, specifically a contract, to get some science from Minmus, and that sounds like a pretty good get for us. So, yeah, I've gone ahead. We've got some science. I unlocked a few more nodes. Not much to talk about. The biggest, most influential one is actually going to be the fact that we have access to proper landing struts now. That and a new experiment. The press mat barometer. Very, 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 very handy over there. I spent a bunch of money because we had to upgrade the research and development center to A, pick up surface samples, and B, to, I think, increase the tech limit. But this is enabling us to build the Lander 1 ship over here. Boom. Very classic design for your early landing. This lander over here certainly doesn't look like anything that you'd find on the Apollo program, but it's very, very stable. 4 struts, nicely spread out, makes it easy to handle landing on even a slope, which is the sort of thing you need to plan for when you are a newer player, because it's very easy. It's very difficult to land exactly where you might want. We got a bunch of solar panels all over. I do have nose cones on here that do have reverse decouplers here, so that it can pop off the nose cones later on. Basically, I'm almost treating them like fairings. And then we have a whole bunch of firepower under. I suspect this is a wicked massive amount of overkill, but I don't have any Delta V calculators, so as I always say, there's no such thing as too much overkill. We only have 39,000 Kerbal bucks, and this is going to cost us 33,000 just to launch this bad boy. We need to have a pilot, so we're going to make sure that we've got Valentina on here. Valentina, oh, and Jorny. They both have 1 level of experience points, actually, but I think I'm going to make Valentina have the experience of being our first person to land on Minmus. She can plant a flag in remembrance of Jebediah. So let's go ahead and launch this bad boy. Oh, I didn't double check the staging here. No, we look okay. So we got a certain amount of asparagus staging where this tank and this tank, these are the outer ones, they flow into the secondary stage, which then flows into the center. The center stage does not have a whole lot of thrust to weight ratio, so it's very important that we are in very high atmosphere, if not trying to circularize by the time that this comes in, because it has... I can't remember, but I think I calculated it's sitting at around 1 thrust to weight, which it means it's not going to be able to push us up very much. It is still going to be able to push us sideways, though, assuming we've acquired enough upness from the previous stages. As such, I think I'm going to take a relatively steep ascent profile here, which is what I'm going to do. We're going to not gravity turn quite as aggressively. Yet, you can see here, even with all 5 engines blasting, it's not like we're going super mega fast. Almost certainly this is over-engineered. Probably it could have trimmed these stages down, have less fuel. I suspect we'll end up with maybe a bunch of Delta V that we didn't actually produce as much Delta V. I could have ended up with a lighter design that used less fuel and was cheaper as well, and still gotten it to go just as far. Getting to Minmus is not that hard. So I'm starting my gravity turn a little bit late here. Actually, I should have gotten rid of these fins. Don't think they're going to be useful for anything. Yeah, definitely a bit late on the gravity turn. But there we go. I think we can go ahead and lock to surface prograde now. And I'm thinking we might have to throttle down a bit, because we're going to start hitting sort of Mach effects. Oh, well, now that we're down to just 3 engines, maybe it's fine. We'll just keep it full blast. Let's see if we can get maybe a little bit more on 90 degrees. Now, when you go to Minmus, Minmus is not exactly orbital. Yeah, when I have boosters I'm going to drop like this, I like going sideways because I hate like dropping a booster off above me. It feels very wrong. Ooh, we're actually going a little too flat, too steep. I gotta pull it back a little bit here. Let me go to regular stability assist instead of tracking the prograde. Oh, this front end that we've got is very top heavy and not very aerodynamic. It really wants to get away from me, so I'm really having to fight that. So I'm just trying to keep the nose up a little bit more here, and also see if we can bring it back to the 90 degrees. Okay, I think I'm mostly happy with this now. I've pushed the nose up enough, delayed crossing the 45 degree to 22 kilometers. I like it. Okay, you can go back to just doing surface prograde stuff for now, and that's going to be fine. If we go out here and we take a look at Minmus. Minmus is over here, and you can see, especially if you compare it to the moon, Minmus is on kind of a wonky orbit. So ideally, you can time your takeoff in such a way that Minmus is in the right place, that when you take off not going directly east, but at the correct angle to have your orbit around Kerbin exactly match. That position change, by the way, is because it switched from surface to orbit mode. So that your orbit around Kerbin is exactly the same as Minmus's orbit around Kerbin, and that makes your encounter a little bit easier. But that's really hard to do just like manually, so it's often going to be perfectly fine to just launch and then fix it in orbit. But you can do it. You want to wait until Minmus is, I think you want to wait until it's like directly above the KSC, or ish, and then you launch basically at the same, I think it's 6-degree inclination as Minmus. So east but slightly north. Or if Minmus is on the other side, like it depends whether it's Minmus here, which is going upwards, or Minmus here, which is going downwards when you're sort of under it. You're either going to want to go 6 degrees north or 6 degrees south. And either way you will end up being in the same inclination as Minmus, which will prevent you from having to do a correction later on. Oh, we're 110 kilometers already. And we're just entering space. Let me go ahead and kill that. Now we're in space. We know that nothing's going to change because there's no air slowing us down. So we'll just add a maneuver. And we don't need to do we don't need to circularize exactly. We just need to say, as soon as this starts to move, you're roughly circular. So that's going to be fine. Gonna hit the node in 2 minutes 20. Well, we need to stop. We need to start a burn about 48 seconds before, no, 24 seconds before we hit the node. So I'm just going to fast forward a wee bit, bring it down, kill the time warp, and I just have Valentina asked to go to prograde, which is going to be pretty close for the maneuver, although I suppose I can do it exactly, because why not? Just go to stability assist. Oh my god, the turning this is way too long for the amount of reaction wheels we got. As soon as I light the engine, we'll be okay. So I'm going to start this a little bit late, but that's all right. Now that we light the engine, we've got the gimbling from the engine that can help out. Nice. And I think we will fully circularize with this stage still going. And it'll actually be able to help us with the trans-Minmus injection. So clearly, I've over-engineered this, as I expected. But without a mod, telling us exactly delta V numbers, you have to over-engineer stuff. And again, it's only Kerbal tax money. Who cares about them? They're very happy to support our space program. And coming in, 100 meter per second change left. Oh, that orientation change. That happens as soon as the periapsis goes, like, it's not actually out of the atmosphere. It's like when it goes above 30 kilometers or something like that. So now almost certainly we've got something. It's not going to be perfectly round. 99, 114. Not bad. So we didn't do our burn at exactly the proper place in the apoapsis, which is why we pushed it, but that is okay. All right, so with Minmus, the way we get there, very similar to the moon. If you set it, well, you can set it as a target. It doesn't really matter too much. But you set it at 12 o'clock, and we want to leave for Minmus, oh god, right around here, but a little earlier probably. We'll wait for the next orbit. Also, the moon might be kind of awkward. So we get the advantage. We could just eyeball it, but we're going to go and set a maneuver. I think it'll be somewhere around here. And with the maneuver, at least we can adjust it. And we'll just go and burn prograde. So right there, it would actually touch the moon. And yet, that is where we want to end up. As long as we don't actually hit the moon, it looks to me like we're getting a bit of a speed boost from it. But we might not end up at the right timing. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to wait an orbit. We're going to do it on the next one. I guess there's a button, actually, now that I think about it. Right? Because we're still going to want to leave from around here. And if I go and click off and then click here. No. Click off and then right click here. I can push it to the next orbit. Whatever. It's fine. I'll just fast forward. We'll loop around Kerbin one time. Yeah, with these two aligned, this is actually really super awkward. I wonder if there's any sciencing I can be doing. I mean, I could test some EVAs. Oh, you know what I could have been doing is the barometer the entire way up. I gotta remember this stuff. It's hard to remember when you don't have a little mod telling you. Log pressure data? Yeah, grab that. How's the temperature? No, you're good. So now we'll have to EVA. We actually might get some EVA data. Anything? Nope. But you can grab the crew report, and you can detach. Turn on your headlamps. Nice. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. I forgot to put lights on my ship. Trip is ruined. We can take this data and just grab and reboard. Okay. Quick save. Time warp a whole bunch. If you want to time warp a lot faster, you can return to the Space Center, and that will enable you to time warp a lot faster, just, even with Lander 1 in orbit. It's just if you've got it selected, then it won't. So I'm just going to let it go by the area that we normally would have launched. There we go. So now I'm going to work to plan a maneuver here again. And hopefully this time we won't hit the moon. Could still be a thing. Apparently it's still a thing. Well, then, you know what we'll do instead? We'll take this opportunity to go and correct our inclination. Because right now, we are 6 degrees off because we're mostly equatorial, and Minmus is not. So we're about to pass in descending node. This is where we're going down through the plane of Minmus. So we're going to want to, oh my god, very, 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 very slowly point our nose up. Very, very slowly. It'll go a lot faster when we ditch the bottom part, but it doesn't make sense to ditch it until... this is the wrong way, isn't it? Yep. Until... well, it's still got fuel. I mean, we may as well use it, but... Oh, is it a beast? I want to go that way. I want to go that way. No, no, no. I'm doing it wrong. Come on. Come on. Oh, you can do it. We got all the power we need. Okay, turn on the SAS. There we go. There we go. Now we're pointing upward through our orbit right as we hit the descending node. So if I hit the gas, you can see the descending node is shrinking. It'll go to 0, and then eventually it'll flip the other way around, which would be bad. I guess this would become the ascending node. And at some point, when we get close, it's going to start to move, which is expected. And we don't need it exactly 0, but it wouldn't be awfully nice, wouldn't it? There we go. 0. Okay, that will probably also help us dodge the moon, because there's going to be an increased chance that we'll pass above or below the moon, depending on when we do this. I'm going too far out. So if we were to plan a maneuver, say now, any chance we could get to Minmus without hitting the moon? Nope. We'll have to wait a few more orbits. But on the bright side is our orbit around Earth very much lines up with Minmus's. So to speed things along, what we're going to do, just a quick save, we're going to go to the Space Center. And we're just going to fast forward like a few days. And we can fast forward quite quickly here. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Okay. That seems pretty good. Go back to the tracking station. Oh, right, this debris, Jorny's debris I can trash. Angie's still living in there. We haven't rescued her. I took the job. Whoops. I took the job ages ago and never did go and rescue her. Sorry, Angie. How are we looking now? Minmus, put it at 12 o'clock. Plan to depart right around here. Moon is now well out of the way. Thank you very much, Moon. Let's try this. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. And... whoops. We need to be slightly... somewhere. Well, there's an encounter. There we go. So what I like to do is figure out the minimum burn here to get an encounter, and then I correct it a little bit afterwards, especially since I don't always do it exactly right. So let's go, and we've got 8 minutes, but first what I'm going to do is try to find... nope, it's not going to be that way. It's going to be very similar to prograde. Actually, not necessarily the current prograde. Oh, Lord, it's slow. I'm really debating getting rid of the butt end over here because it's brutal. There's our... yeah, so right now, it's going to point us basically through the planet, but by the time we get over there, that orientation is going to be bypassing the planet. So we're going towards the blue thingy. Good, 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 good. And one thing you can do to immediately stop any rotation is to simply time warp. Boom. Start time warping. It kills your rotation, and that's fine. So we don't know how much of a burn it's going to be, especially since we are actually going to change engines partway through. I would guess, especially once we switch to the next engine, we will be lighter, but it's a weaker engine. It'll probably be at least a minute burn, if not slightly longer. So I think I'm actually going to start it with a minute to go, and then we can make some corrections after that. 3 minutes. 2 and change, 1 and change. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Excellent. I'm happy about this. All right, I'm going to go for the burn. So it says 50 seconds now, but we're about to stage. Next stage is not as powerful, but we're lighter, and I don't know how the difference works out. So we'll go and just do the burn now, and that's going to be okay. Pointing at the maneuver, and fuel is out. And go. Yeah, longer burn. That's what I expected. So I'm actually quite happy with our timing there. It's mostly a guess. Woo! Legs goes out. Legs go in. So much fun. Forgot to put lights on the ship. I'm sorry. But it looks cool. Sort of looks like one of those people at the gym. It's like all upper body all the time. And they got teeny tiny little calves. That's kind of what the ship reminds me of. So our orbit will get there. Assuming we stick here. We'll run into Minmus. And then yeah, we'll fine tune things. I could increase the physics simulation speed here just to rush things. Oh, here's an interesting question. What's our frame rate looking at? Oh, that. 90 frames a second? Not bad. Actually, and it's alternating a little bit. It's actually hitting about 120 at the peak. And I suspect that... I actually have a limiter put in. I force the frame rate not allowed to go above 120. So I suspect the system is actually intentionally slowing down to stop from hitting. There's like a little bit of a delay. Every time I hit 120, probably puts in a little bit of a pause. But we're averaging 90, and the least we're hitting is 60. That's pretty good. And I suspect we can have a ship with like 5 times as many components, and we'd still be getting a similar speed over here. Whoa, we are losing our target a wee bit. And throttle down a little. And there we go. Ooh, only 0.3 meters off our destination. Don't quite have an encounter right now, but I'm going to consider that to be mostly okay. I'm going to do adjustment out over here. I'm going to actually wait until we get there. There, I'll wait till we get out here, because it's going to make some of the math, the floating points and things, go a little bit more smoothly, which is always a thing in Kerbal. Boom, boom, boom. Which is a thing in anything in computers. Floating point numbers are a little tricksy. So we're going to make a maneuver plan, say over here. And we can do a wee bit of adjustment. There we go. 0.7 meters will guarantee our encounter again. But now that we're out here, I can focus the view so I can actually see where we'll encounter it. And then we can start to manipulate that so that we're a little happier. If I do, oh, not that way, maybe this way. Can I get a little closer? Yeah, we sort of lose it a little bit. I may have to make a minimal adjustment here and then another one. It might just be a little too tricky for me. There we go. There we go. Ooh. Oh, I think I completely lost it. Oh, I'm hitting the moon! That's why it stops working. Really? Wait, that doesn't seem right. There we go. Just a little more speed. I think I'm fine now. There we go. No, I think I was seeing the moon on the return. You just dial that back a bit. We're going to call that good enough. 4 meter per second change is pretty tiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to derate my engine to like 10% of its normal thrust. Face the right direction. We'll time warp. This is going to be, even with only 10% of my normal thrust, it's going to be a minuscule little burn. And the distances we're talking about now, I could probably start the burn now and still be relatively satisfied. But may as well go ahead and wait for the node, or at least be closer to it. Because honestly, with the tiny little differences involved here, a slight difference in where we do it will actually have a pretty big impact, so I guess I'll wait. But overall, we have tons of Delta V. While I say that, this tank is actually mostly empty. It doesn't take much to enter orbit around Minmus, though, so we should be pretty okay. Closing in, and whoa. Alright, I'm going to call that good enough. I'm going to start a very slow burn over here. There we go. And there you go. So ideally, for max efficiency, you do your entire burn instantaneously at the node, which you can't do. It does mean that the slower burn that I did is not quite as efficient, but we're still going to get here, which is good. Let's do a quick save because we're going to do a giant time warp. And if you click on the wrong line here, it can lead to really bad things happening that you don't want to see happen. You know what? Here's a question. I mean, we're going to stop before we enter the sphere of influence of Minmus. So right now, we're still in high orbit around Kerbal. Now, I'm assuming... we can do a crew report here. How about atmospheric pressure? Apparently, it will let us take atmospheric pressure readings over here. Temperature? Excellent. I can't reuse these bays, the science bay or the goose, so we're not going to do that. We'll EVA. We can EVA report. Excellent. We're going to take the crew report as well. And we're going to detach, jetpack, and very slowly tap our way over here, take the barometer data, take the temperature data. Excellent. Whoop, 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 whoop. And no, up, forward, grab. And grab on here. Cool. Excellent. So I could make some adjustments to our path from here. And the further out like this that we do the adjustments, the less we'll have to do once we get to Minmus. Or rather, well, that's true, but I meant to say this will be more delta V efficient. It can be a little tricky. Like, I don't know, we go from being good to being like... Because the angles aren't quite what you expect. I'll just wait until we enter the sphere of influence of Minmus, and I think it'll be a lot easier. So we've already been out here 10 days, 11 days. So a lot of that was actually spent, well, 4 days or something like that were spent orbiting Kerbal. So it's not entirely just the trip. Let's go to speed 1,000. It'll automatically de-warp us down to 50 when we enter the sphere of influence of Minmus. Oof. Taking a while. I guess I'll center on myself, actually. There you go. You can see us where we'll make the change, and... very odd little displays. That's always been the case when you're just on the fringe of things. So in theory, we're going here. And I want to do this. Even a little bit more. So we're going to land, I think 22-kilometer orbit is going to be a nice place to start from for that. Point myself the right way. Turn on the SAS for stability. And time warp until we're a little closer. It is a long burn. We're going to want to start at about 45 seconds before the node, based on how I've done it. Oh, it's a long burn at a current power, though. Hold on. Cancel. Change this. This is actually going to be a much shorter burn. Probably somewhere around 10 or 20 seconds. So I can wait a little bit longer before we start. Whoop, boop, boop, boop. There we go. Yeah, no. Quite a bit shorter, so we can wait a tiny bit more. There we go. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. And I like that very much. Overshot it a little bit. That's actually good. Slightly lower orbit. Beautiful. So we have been here before. We have been in high Minmus orbit before, but it's possible we didn't have some ability to do certain things then. Certainly we can do the barometric pressure. How about the temperature? We've got that already. I don't think we could EVA at the time. No, I guess we did. Yeah, okay, so just detach. Nope, detach and activate that. Grab the barometric pressure. Excellent. Grab, and there was no... Oh, take. And board. Beautiful. So now there's really not a whole lot for us to do other than wait till we get near the periapsis, which that looks pretty close, and hit the brakes. and drop into an orbit around Minmus. I mean, I'm mostly just putting the maneuver here as a placeholder. Whoop. Because mostly what we're doing is we're just going to be burning retrograde until we get a nice orbit that we're happy with. Very simple little operation. Fast forward over to here. Okay. That's good. Now warp to here. So there's Minmus. Beautiful mint ice cream world that it is. So let me actually cancel that because, yeah, it's definitely not where we want it. It wasn't quite lined up with the periapsis. So warp to here, and then we'll burn retro as soon as we get there. And I'll be quite happy with that. All right, let's do it. It was what, 180 meter per second delta V? That's not that much. And I fully expect, yeah, we've got enough left in the tank for that. Beautiful. And close the loop. Bring it down to be roughly circular. There. Because that's starting to move. Because we're not doing the burn at the peri, so we're also dropping the periapsis. Okay, then we can figure out a landing spot. Ideally, you land somewhere sunny, because it's easier to see, plus your solar panels work. And ideally, you land somewhere flat. We could land on top of this bit, which is relatively flat, or often you go for the area called the flats, which are these oceany bits. But for us, it doesn't really matter one way or the other. Other than, yes, it would be very nice to land somewhere flat. We can probably get some more barometric pressure information in space near Minmus. And we don't need to, because I can always do this on the planet, but let's take a moment and grab the barometric data anyway. Tick. Grab and board. Okay. So, what are you going to be doing? Well, you will be burning retrograde once we get there, but for now, we're going to just orbit the planet. We might be able to stop for science to do some EVA above different biomes, but I'm going to be fine to just wait. We'll wait till we're on the light side, which coincidentally, actually, is the direction we need to be facing the Earth, which is good, because in real life, we need to be not occluded by Minmus here to be able to communicate with the Earth. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is plan our burn so that ideally we land somewhere relatively flat. I guess I could twist my orbit. No, you know, we should be able to land on one of these top bits. I could twist my orbit a bit to give us more of this flat, but I kind of like this. I suppose what I could do is burn anti-normal, which is here, which would bring my orbit downwards, which would give me a little bit more flatness to work with. Takes a little bit of delta V, but hardly any, as you can see. Most maneuvers around Minmus are very minor delta V maneuvers because Minmus is small and has very little gravity. So I think what I'm going to do is right around here, I'm going to start burning retrograde. So let me just warp to there. And what I'll try to do is just drop the orbit some, and then right around here, I'll do a full burn, basically sideways. Basically the direction I'm pointing in now, which is going to start off meaning retrograde, but isn't going to mean that in the end. So we'll warp to here. Because as I kill my horizontal speed, I'm going to become more and more and more vertical. So retrograde, the meaning of it is going to change. I'll deploy the landing gear now, and I'm just going to put in stability assist mode. And I'm going to do a full burn here. Drop that. Start the next one. Orbital speed is going to drop to 0, and then we'll be going straight down at that point. Whoops. I should be going to surface speed at this point. But that's all right. So, how's my actual retrograde looking? Okay, so we are heading that way now. So let me just change it to burn on the horizon. Again, we're looking to kill our horizontal speed. And we're basically trying to move the retrograde marker to the top of the ball. That will indicate that we're going straight down as soon as it hits the top of the ball. Not burning very hard. Okay, that's going to be pretty close. So that's going to be, actually, that is pretty damn good. So now we're basically going straight down. And our surface speed is basically our vertical speed. And we're just going to try to make it so that when we land, we're not going too damn fast. If you go into your cockpit, there's actually a great display right here. This radar altimeter or altitude is your distance above the ground. It starts to register at 3 kilometers above the ground. So this is different from this. This is our altitude above sea level. We are landing on some high areas here. So most likely these, I'm not sure how tall these are, but probably a couple of kilometers. So it might be worth checking. You can use the C key, by the way, to enter into your cockpit. Check this number from time to time, because that'll tell you when you're actually approaching towards the ground. And other than that, just make sure that your surface speed doesn't go too high. It's fine that it's climbing right now. We've got lots of time to go and slow that down before landing. Ideally, you want to land at around, less than 5 meters per second. Ideally, around 2 minimizes the chance of any bounce, which is actually a significant problem on Minmus because the gravity is so low. So we're still 3 kilometers above the surface, which is fine. We could time warp a bit, but it seems a little sketchy. I'm gonna give us a little boost here to slow that down, just because I'm getting a little anxious. There we go. The radar altitude has just come alive. So we're now 2.5 kilometers above the surface, closing in on 2 kilometers above the surface. So we're going to land at, it looks like it's going to be about 3,700 is what our altitude here will say. Do we have this vertical speed indicator? And what does it represent? That's not this. Or it is. Oh, it's, I didn't realize it was a logarithmic. Okay, so presumably we're under 1 kilometer from the surface now. And at some point we will get shadows. Oh, by the way, it is a good idea to have lights on here that face downwards if you think you might be landing on the dark side of a planet. Let's take a look. There we go, closing in 400 meters above. And this would mean we'd take about 20 seconds to land at our current rate. So we're going to drop that down to around 10 meters per second. There we go, closing in at 200 meters above the surface. So again, going to take us... Oh, no. I hit the wrong button there. Accidentally started heading upwards, which is not what I want. My bad. I was trying to switch to the internal view. So we got to wait for gravity to kick in. You can see how weak the gravity here on Minmus is. But yeah, lights facing down are quite good because one of the ways we're going to judge when we're actually doing the final landing is by paying attention to our shadow. And if you're landing on the dark side, you won't have a shadow. So that would be quite nice. I'll go and time warp a bit. There we go. We just hit 0. So now we're starting to go down again. And you can see our retrograde going. By the way, if you don't want to stay on retrograde mode here while you're landing, because if ever you do this where you accidentally start moving up, which is very easy to do as you're coming in on your final landing, because you're trying to juggle, around 2 or 3 meters per second. It's very easy to overshoot that and accidentally start drifting upwards. Last thing you want is your entire little landing pod to invert itself and suddenly want to face nose down because you've told it to point retrograde. So once you're pretty satisfied with a lot of things, you want to go into stability assist and mostly just keep your nose pointing straight up, which is what I'm doing here. All right, just going to try to gently slow this down. So we know we're very close. Oh, there's the shadow. We know we're close because I said it's going to be about 3,700 meters, our landing. And that seems to be very true. So I'm going to try to bring our surface speed, just to make sure nothing smashes, certainly below 5 or 6. The landing gears are pretty tough, but to minimize bounce, ideally, see how close to 0 you can get. We do have a little bit of sideways drift, which is unfortunate, and you can fix that pretty easily if you've got really good. So we're drifting sideways about 1.5 meters per second, which is a little bit unpleasant. And we might slide a little bit, but we're all right. We're all right. I'm going to turn off the SAS, and it'll just settle down perfectly. Boom! We have just landed on Minmus. Congratulations, everyone. Let's get a crew report, record the crew assessment of the situation. That's all you have to say? Really? Come on. Let's run the barometer, which isn't going to have anything because there's no atmosphere here. Log the temperature. It's very cold. It's almost as cold as ice cream. Material bay. While the material samples you were processed, you begin to turn your thoughts to how much Minmus looks like a mint dessert and have discovered that you are now hungry. Oh, we forgot to pack any food. And the mystery goo. You observe the goo. So we're going to do that. We're now going to EVA. I will do an EVA report from over here. Nothing to be had because it's the same as being in orbit. I'll take the data and store it just to fix the crew report. And we're going to go ahead and climb down and just let ourselves drop very slowly to the surface of Minmus. Ta-da! Dancing with joy over here. really want to take a taste of the ground, but unfortunately, that would require taking off our spacesuit and would probably kill us. So we're not going to do that. We are, however, going to plant a flag. Dun, 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 dun. Oops. Clipping through the landscape there with the camera. There we go. Oh, we got to look this way around. I can climb the flag? That's new. Jebediah Memorial Site. There we are. Lovely. What could possibly go wrong? Make sure to pose. So we'll hide the user interface and do that. Do we want to turn the lights off? I like with the lights on. Cool. Okay, very important to take that picture. And let's go ahead and take a surface sample. Surface seems to consist of tiny crystal-like grains. Very pretty, probably not edible. I mean, probably. And you feel a bit like a superhero when you jump in the low gravity. And yeah, if you've never been to Minmus, taking a jump here, boo! You can practically launch yourself into orbit. And actually, that's literally true if you do use your jetpack. I'm pretty certain, but we're not going to do that. I'm actually going to try to go down a little bit. We're going to go and collect our science experiments, load them into the main capsule, and we're going to leave and go home. Whoop, boop, 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 boop. Try not to smash into the surface too much because we could go bouncing and rolling for near infinity on this planet. Boom. All right. Slowly waddle over here. I think we can reach all the experiments from the ground. So we're going to... Oh. Not be able to do it. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to hover up slowly and delicately next to the Science Junior. We're going to collect the data. And yes, we will not be able to reuse this experiment, which is what it's warning us about here. Can't reuse it unless you have a scientist to reset it. And we don't, but that's okay. What's important is that we get everything loaded into the capsule because those components are not coming home. We're going to ditch them before we re-enter the atmosphere of Kerbal. So I think we have done everything we needed to do. We could, if we've got enough fuel, and we've got a fair amount, you could consider hopping to another biome, assuming we knew there was one nearby. But I think it's going to be perfectly fine for us to simply take off. So I'm going to turn on the SAS. I'm going to give a boost of speed to leave the surface. Then I'm going to turn eastwise. And mostly do that. You know, slightly up to go and increase things. And we can take a look at our apoapsis. There we go. 10 kilometers, just like that. Took 2 seconds. That is our entire launch. We can tuck away our landing gear. Make that all pretty. Make that even. Maybe take another picture. Click, 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 click. Excellent. There should be a little click, click sound, I think. I'm going to put a request in. I require click, click sounds for when I take pictures. So we'll go and just time warp a little bit until we get over here. And we can ask Valentina to keep prograde for us. She can't turn right now because we are time warping, of course. We'll get to our apoapsis. There we go. There, and then she turns prograde. And we'll just give a little bit of juice. And there we go. Roughly circular. Cool. There. And we have plenty of fuel to get home. So how do we get home? Well, we zoom out. We get our bearings. Okay, so we put Minmus at 12 o'clock. So Minmus is going from right to left. So, and we clearly need to deorbit. We need to slow down. Relative to Kerbal, we need to slow down so that we can land on Kerbal. So what we want to do is we want to exit Minmus going towards the right relative to Minmus. That will represent we'll go slower than Minmus. So if we put our maneuver node right over here and we burn prograde relative to Minmus at some point, our orbit will pop, there we go, going in the opposite direction of Minmus's orbit. And that will bring us closer to home. Yeah, we're going to have lots of fuel left over. So we can go ahead and warp to this maneuver. Only warp times 50 because we're quite low. We could do a bunch of EVA pop in, pop out. We have a mission is to return science from Minmus. We could have transmitted it, but we'll just return home with it, and that's going to be perfectly fine, and we'll complete that mission. Big rewards. I think there's going to be a banquet. Here we come. And we're not really following this maneuver. We're just getting it for a timing idea. Whoop. Estimated burn 2 seconds. Actually, I very much believe that. And what I'm going to do, we're just facing prograde. I'll just burn until our orbit pops like this. In fact, I can go and just cancel this. And do the burn. And there it is. Pretty good. Quick save because we're going to do a big time warp. Yeah, only times 50 right now because we're too low. There we go. Times 100. And I think we'll be able to get times 1,000 once we get high enough. Excellent. Times 10,000 might be a little risky. Nah, it's fine. Do that. It'll automatically de-time warp us down to times 50 as we cross the barrier. There we go. And we've done that. So we're now in orbit around Kerbal, as opposed to Minmus. We've left the sphere of influence. So now what we want to do is just burn retrograde from here. We've already passed our apoapse, so burning retrograde at this point is fine. And we're going to drop... No! Oh, the surface. That's weird. Why is the nav ball surface mode so completely off? Let's try that again. There we go. Much better. Much, much better. And we want to just drop the parry. Ooh, watch the moon. I mean, we could do another moon flyby. Wouldn't be the end of the world unless we smacked into the moon. All right, that's a little bit low. Let me just go and invert this a bit. Overshot it a bit, but it's only going to take like 0.1 delta V to fix this. Wow! It is... that was with one tick of shift. It's very hard. We do have two engines going. It's very hard to get exactly what I want. Let's bring that down to a 7 and a 7. Good. So they're even. And there we go. Now with one tick of shift, it still goes fast. I'm going to come in, yeah, at about 30. I don't want to come in too low because I don't want to burn up. Don't want to come in too high because we might skip through. I think that around 31 is going to be fine. We can do the trick where we burn off a bunch of our relative delta V again, although I don't think that's going to be strictly necessary. And yeah, mostly... Actually, let me cancel that and just ask, hey, can you just time warp in here? 8 days to come back. Actually, it's going to be even longer than that. It takes almost 10 days to make the trip from or to, like between, I should say. 10 days to make the trip between Kerbal and Minmus, one way. So we're being pulled towards Kerbal, which is why we're going so much faster all of a sudden. And warp a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to do one more check to make sure I have collected all the signs, but I'm pretty confident that I have. So there's literally nothing I can do, literally nothing I can do. I can't review, and there's no crew report currently. I'll grab that, but I'm pretty sure we've already done that, so that's not going to be an issue. Cool. Looks good. I guess I could go and detach. I mean, again, I could do some extra slow, but we'll do complete air braking. It'll just be faster and easier. There you go. Let's do one more save before we enter the atmosphere to make sure nothing weird happens. Although I haven't gotten a single crash yet, which I say... Oh, yeah, we have to go and detach this. Oh my god, I never went and popped the freaking nose cones. I was carrying away that extra weight for no reason. Turns out it was fine. We had lots of delta V. So you're going to be going surface retrograde here. We're coming in pretty quick, and right now she would use a lot of power holding that. So I'm just going to ask for stability assist instead. And do that. Okay, we're not time warping or anything weird like that. No. Everything is fine. Yeah, we're coming in very fast, which is why I'm actually happier about coming in a little higher at 31,000. Should be lots of opportunity to burn off some extra speed. And we have to keep in mind, that's an explosion of those parts. Oh, they split it in two. The science module was the first thing to die. These other two are still going. Funny watching them side by side, actually. It's incredible. Boom, there we go. And the other one should go very soon because it's... Oh, it's not even the whole bit. It's probably like the legs or something popping off, something of that nature. Huh. Actually, and then they're not currently in fire. Are they too high? They probably don't have quite as much of the surface. One of the things with the heat shield is it really does... It is really sort of a mini parachute because it's so flat. It's really designed to get stomped on by the air quite aggressively. But it's okay because it's also built to be able to handle that. So we actually are slowing down more quickly than the other parts, which might be tumbling in a way that is less aerodynamically restrictive, which is interesting to consider. Still, we are fine, and this is doing exactly what we want. We want to be slowed down by this thing. The burn rate of the ablator is going down, which is a very good sign. We still have 30 kilometers left to go. This is definitely going to be perfectly fine. In fact, if we went out, our apoapsis is still technically above the atmosphere, but that's no longer going to be the case. We're still dropping. Our parry is still ahead of us, and is going to continue to drop. It's possible we may find ourselves hitting our parry, then going up, but I think if we do that, our apo is still going to be outside the atmosphere, so even if we go up for a little bit, it's not going to last for very long. And that would still surprise me quite a bit if it did that. Yep, no, it's dropping too fast. We'll never catch the periapsis, which means we're definitely landing on this pass. Oh, there's the camera change as our apo comes in a little bit. There we go, and actually we're intersecting the planet. We're still going at 2,000 meters a second. Very fast speed. But we're starting to hit the thicker air. We're slowing down faster and faster. And again, the ablation rate is going down, which is indicative of the fact that we are winning the race, temperature-wise. And of course, we also really strongly believe that we will easily burn off enough speed to be able to safely deploy the parachute. And once we deploy the parachute, we will be cutting off the video at that point. Just because the landings take so long. So long. We don't know exactly how much science we have in here. I mean, you know, that's always a really satisfying scene. I'm not going to lie. That pop-up where it shows me how much science I got from completing the mission is great, and I'm sorry to cut that off, but video's long enough as is. No one wants to watch, like, 3 minutes of parachute landing. Once we know that that has happened, because right now it would be unsafe to deploy. Oh, we dropped off another 500 meters per second in the last 5 kilometers of descent, and the rate at which we lose speed is just going up as we enter thicker and thicker air. You're going to be fine, Valentina. Ablator is only ablating at a rate of 0.1 per second now. Barely doing any. In fact, I suspect at this speed here, if we didn't have an ablator, we wouldn't burn up. We might get some components start to get a little bit warm, but I don't think anything would burn off. We're going to bring home the battery and the solar panels as a bonus. Save a little bit of money. That's the one downside, with not bringing home the science lab. The science labs are quite pricey. You can save a lot of money by bringing them home, but I wanted to play it safe. Or it's not science lab, the material bay. I wanted to play it safe. There we go. Heat effects are gone. And I can probably turn off the SAS now. In fact, yeah, aerodynamically stable enough that it's fine. Mostly I do it out of paranoia. It should, especially when you've just got this module here with the heat shield, it should be aerodynamically stable enough to not need manual intervention or any SAS, but better to be safe than sorry. So as soon as this drops a little under 300 meters per second, we'll see the flag. There it is. And, oh, we can actually deploy it like at 330. I guess as long as it's subsonic, it's quite happy. And that's it. So thank you very much for watching this mission to Minmus. This is likely going to be my final pre-recorded video. The next content is most likely going to be stuff from the live stream, which should hopefully be a mission that is very interesting and goes to a distant planet. We'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.